With A Few Good Men, director Rob Reiner gave us a legal drama that poses important questions that are still relevant today. And this famous scene,
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
still acts as a perfect reminder that a position of government authority does not equal moral authority. We're talking all about it this week in Kaden's Movie Club. Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen it. Beat it. The movie follows Lieutenant Dan Caffey. Caffey is considered to be a fantastic lawyer, but he's never been inside a courtroom. His talent is resolving cases quickly and efficiently with plea bargain deals, which is exactly why he's been assigned to the case our story focuses on. In the early morning hours at Guantanamo Bay Naval Base, Marines Dawson and Downey enter the room of Private Santiago. They tie him up and stuff a rag down his throat. Due to an unusual reaction, Santiago's lungs start to fill with blood, causing him to choke and eventually die. Dawson and Downey are now being tried for the murder of their fellow Marine. Their claim is that they are not guilty because they had been ordered to give Santiago a code red and had not intended to murder him. The problem is, a code red technically doesn't exist. It's not an official term, but it refers to when Marines punish another Marine who is failing in some way. It's essentially a form of hazing that's intended to act as self-regulation. To put it simply, if a Marine is thought to be slacking in any way, the other Marines will bully them to force compliance.
Have you ever received a code red?
Yes, sir. We were doing 7-man assault drills, and my weapon slipped. That night, the guys in my squad threw a blanket over me, took turns punching me in the arm for 5 minutes, and then they poured glue on my hands.
As usual, Caffey is able to get a great plea bargain deal. His clients would only serve 6 months of jail time and be dishonorably discharged. But the Marines, Dawson in particular, refuse to take the deal because of the code they live by. Dawson refuses to plead guilty because he believes he did the right thing by following orders. He's willing to accept punishment if the court deems he did something wrong, but by his standard, he lived by his code of honor.
Did you assault Santiago with the intent of killing him?
No, sir.
What was your intent?
To train him, sir.
Train him to do what?
Train him to think of his unit before himself. To respect the code.
What's the code?
Unit, Corps, God, Country.
Caffey thinks this is insane and wants to recommend that the Marines get a new lawyer, but he's eventually convinced to continue representing them by Lieutenant Commander Galloway. She believes the Marines are telling the truth and that a code red was ordered, despite the fact that the man running the base, Colonel Jessup, claims he never did so. The thing is, this part isn't a mystery to the audience. The movie shows us early in the story that Jessup is lying.
Santiago stays where he is. We're gonna train the lad.
So the tension in this movie is not unraveling a mystery and finding out who's guilty. We know who's guilty. The tension comes from whether or not Caffey and his team will find a way to uncover this corruption with little to no proof. Aaron Sorkin initially wrote A Few Good Men as a play, and he was directly inspired by a real-life case that was extremely similar to the one he ended up putting in the story. The main difference is that the real-life counterpart to Santiago didn't die. When Sorkin's script came into the hands of Rob Reiner's production company, Reiner came on as director, and they worked on the screenplay for another 8 months. Reiner brought in his friend William Goldman to do an uncredited rewrite. If you'll remember from last week, Goldman wrote the book and screenplay for The Princess Bride. Sorkin is said to have liked Goldman's changes so much he even retroactively changed his play to match. One thing you might have noticed about A Few Good Men is that it's largely dialogue driven. It's a legal drama with the first half leading up to the trial, and the second being the trial itself, so there's lots of talking. Engaging dialogue is a trademark of Aaron Sorkin, but Reiner brings a lot to the table in making sure that the dialogue driven movie never becomes dull. We'll see him do a similar thing next week with a rom-com, but we'll come back to that. Notice how Reiner structures different types of dialogue scenes. When they are exposition scenes and contextual information needs to be fed to the characters or the audience, Reiner makes sure the scene has some energy. Characters are moving, talking fast.
Meantime, go and see Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway with Internal Affairs.
No.
Sam.
So I got a stack of papers on my desk about a mile high.
Work with Caffey on this.
Doing what? Caffey will have this done in about 4 days.
It's meant to feel natural and quick so we don't get bored with the flow of basic information. But when it comes to a scene that's focused on character in addition to information, Reiner switches gears. The shots slow down and focus on the character.
We go back a while, but I've been promoted up through the chain with greater speed and success than you have. If that's a source of tension or embarrassment for you, I don't give a shit.
In certain scenes, the actor's performance is going to be what drives home the point for the audience. And Reiner is very aware of that. He knows when to use the tools of filmmaking and when not to best serve the story. Jack Nicholson's character, Colonel Jessup, looms over the entire story as the central antagonist. He is the big, intimidating threat, but he only has about 3 scenes. And the entire movie hinges on one of those scenes, the most famous one. At the conclusion of the court case, Caffey and his team have been able to provide some compelling points suggesting that Dawson and Downey were ordered to give a code red. But they have not provided any concrete proof. Every time they've had solid proof, some problem has come up that invalidates it. So on the last day of the trial, it seems that all of their cards are on the table and they've lost. until Kaffee decides that he's simply going to try and make Jessup admit to the crime. This seems like a terrible strategy. Who in their right mind would willingly incriminate themselves? But Kaffee plays a hunch and bets on the fact that Jessup will get caught in a mental trap if it's demonstrated that his cover-up story makes him look weak.
We follow orders or people die. It's that simple.
If you gave an order that Santiago wasn't to be touched, and your orders are always followed, then why would Santiago be in danger?
Now, this isn't just a gamble by Kaffee, it's a gamble by the filmmakers. Is the audience going to buy the fact that the tension of our story will be resolved when the antagonist makes a dumb mistake? But here's where the rest of the movie, and in particular those other Jack Nicholson scenes, are really important. They prepare the audience for that conclusion. In the first scene with Jessup, we established that this is a cover-up and he did order the code red. But we also established something equally important, Jessup's worldview. He has some pretty strong beliefs about how important his role is. Notice how many times he says he's saving lives.
We're in the business of saving lives, Lieutenant Colonel Markinson. Don't ever question my orders in front of another officer.
But he does this to drive home the point that any decision he makes should not be questioned because of his ultimate responsibility. In the second scene with Jessup, he's being questioned by Kaffee, but mostly by Galloway.
Do Code Red still happen on this base, Colonel?
Joe, the Colonel doesn't need to answer that.
Yes, he does.
No, he really doesn't.
Yeah, he really does.
When he's backed into a corner, his true self comes out.
You're the luckiest man in the world. There is nothing on this earth sexier, believe me, gentlemen, than a woman that you have to salute in the morning.
In the most scummy way possible, Jessup immediately resorts to a personal attack on Galloway, using her status as a woman in the military to try and disrupt her line of questioning.
Colonel, the practice of Code Reds is still condoned by officers
My
on this
problem
base.
is
isn't it?
I'm a colonel, so I'll just have to go on taking cold showers until they elect some gal president.
But Galloway holds her own, and this results in Jessup actually revealing a bit more than he intended.
I need an answer to my question, sir.
Take caution in your tone, Commander. Off the record, I tell you it is an invaluable part of close infantry training, and if it happens to go on without my knowledge, so be it.
By the end of the scene, Jessup may not be incriminated, but his character is fully exposed. His pride and arrogance is through the roof. This is a man that believes every decision he makes is the correct one, and any dissent is weakness. He doesn't actually believe in any standards or laws beyond his own judgment. Which brings us back to this moment. After all other strategies have failed, Kaffee has to bet that those characteristics in Jessup will override his self-preservation. And he's right.
Did you order the Code Red?
I did the job.
Did you order the Code Red?
You're goddamn right I did!
But what does it really mean at the end of the day? What does it mean for Dawson and Downey that Jessup ordered them to do what they did to Santiago? One of the central questions of A Few Good Men is, what exactly makes someone a good person? Is it living by a code of honor that you never deviate from? Is it following orders even if those orders contradict the law? Is it defending someone who can't defend themselves regardless of what you've been ordered to do? Let's compare three central characters, Kaffee, Dawson, and Jessup. Throughout the whole movie, Kaffee is nonchalant about his military service. As a lawyer, he doesn't hold the same dedication to a code as the Marines. He would ask himself, how can I manipulate the situation to my benefit rather than how do I live up to my moral code? But when Kaffee goes to accuse Jessup on the stand, he knows he risks getting a court-martial due to lack of evidence. He knows this could have severe consequences for him. Over the course of the movie, he's resented the dedication to honor that has driven Dawson to refuse the plea bargain.
And you want me to go to the prosecutor with unit, core, God, country?
That's our code, sir.
But in this moment, Kaffee chooses to pursue genuine truth and justice at his own personal risk. And in the end, we see that this is the first time he's really lived up to his title and responsibility.
You put people's lives in danger. Sweet dreams, son.
Don't call me son. I'm a lawyer and an officer in the United States Navy.
Dawson is dedicated to his code to a fault. We learn over the course of the trial that Dawson is a good-natured person. When the other Marines wanted to bully Santiago for breaking the chain of command, Dawson would not let them. But when Dawson was given a direct order to give Santiago a code red, he followed it even if he didn't want to. Even if deep down he thought it might be wrong, he did it because his code demanded loyalty above all else. So in the end, even though he is found innocent of murder, he is still devastated to be dishonorably discharged. His entire identity is as a Marine, but in this moment he realizes a core flaw in his code.
We did nothing wrong!
Yeah, we did. We were supposed to fight for people who couldn't fight for themselves. We were supposed to fight for Willie.
He and Kaffee share a moment of acknowledgement that sometimes true honor goes outside of any official labels.
You don't need to wear a patch in your arm to have honor.
Ten hut!
There's an officer on deck.
And lastly, we have Jessup. Jessup repeatedly asserts that all of his actions are in service to his country to save lives. But it becomes clear that really, it's all in service to himself. One of the big reasons this is being covered up, other than the fact that code reds are illegal, is that Jessup is expected to be promoted as the director of the National Security Council. The goal of any conversation is to aggrandize himself and his own role in defending the nation.
Son, we live in a world that has walls. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Whether or not Jessup's actions have directly saved any lives is questionable, but we do know one thing for sure. His mission to save lives directly results in the loss of life with Private Santiago. And so, in the end, Jessup's most famous line, "You can't handle the truth," is so impactful because of the irony. Jessup has become so obsessed with himself that he believes needlessly taking a life is the same as saving lives.
Santiago's death, while tragic, probably saved lives.
A Few Good Men is set in 1986 and was released in 1992, but its themes have only become more relevant over time as we today in the US are still dealing with the same questions. At what point does your personal moral code override loyalty? At what point do you choose to do the thing that you know is right despite what someone in a position of authority is telling you to do? And at what point do we all finally condemn and reject that authority for issuing illegal orders under the claim that they are saving lives as they do the exact opposite? As the director, Rob Reiner told a morally relevant story with simple but effective filmmaking. The story posed questions to the audience that would remain important well into the future. And next week, we'll be taking a look at another one of his films that has managed to stay relevant but about a completely different topic. When Harry Met Sally follows the story of, you guessed it, Harry and Sally. They first meet through a mutual friend, but out of necessity. They've both just graduated from the University of Chicago and are both now moving to New York. So they decide to hitch a ride together. From there, we follow their attempt to be friends without a romantic relationship for 12 years. This movie is easily recognized as one of the best romantic comedies of all time. It heavily influenced the genre and pop culture itself, so here's some questions to keep in mind while you watch. Why do you think the movie starts each new section with an interview of a random older married couple? In what ways is the movie dated? In what ways does it still ring true? Why do you think this movie has remained popular for 37 years? Do you resonate with Harry or Sally or both? What about their perspective on life and love do you agree or disagree with? So let's chat about A Few Good Men in the comments, and I'll see you back here next Sunday to discuss When Harry Met Sally. And if you want to stay in the know about Movie Club, you know where to go.